Hey there, how's it going? Today I will be documenting EC2 nodes from AWS documentation, and specifically I will be starting with AMI, which is something really fundamental in AWS to understand before you deploy an EC2 instance. There are a lot of things you need to consider, but AMI is one of the first things you need to be aware of. So that's what I'm documenting, and I wanted to share with you guys.
Hey there, how's it going, guys? It's me, Darwin, again online. Now this time documenting some knowledge and notes that I really would like to have documented on my personal wiki webpage, which is something I built with Hugo framework. So I decided to have this self-hosted wiki where I can document and I can also blog all my knowledge, all what I've been learning, all my notes, all my experiments, and all I have to share online. And AWS was something that I really learned a lot. I took a lot of notes here and there. It's everywhere. But now I really would like to have it centralized in one single place. I took a couple of AWS certifications already. And I really wanted to have that documented. I mean, the full process. But that's something that was like almost 2 years ago, kind of. And well, now I'm just going back to the beginning, and I'm trying to learn all those details that I probably missed before. So what I'm doing now is just to go into AWS documentation and try to read as much as I can by myself and try to do some laboratories from it and have a good understanding of all those little details that I probably missed before. Most of the tools and frameworks that I used to learn online, most of them have documentation online, and they have it versioned on GitHub. That was the case for AWS as well, up to 2023, June from 2023, if I'm not mistaken. Then they just decided to stop versioning, to stop sharing the repositories of the AWS documentation. So right now we have just pretty much a static HTML documentation online. We don't have the ability to clone the repository, don't have the ability to browse the documentation in our terminal, which much more simpler and fast to find something that we are really looking for exactly. Well, now that we don't have that, we just have this HTML page online. That's all we have to navigate into the documentation, which you really need to have a really good mouse to explore the web page in order to get where you are heading to. And yeah, to be honest, that bothers me. I really would like to have the Git repository of this documentation, so I can browse it locally in my on my terminal instead of browsing it via a web browser like Firefox. But anyway, that's okay. This is one of the first tools that I see that doesn't have the code version in Git. It used to have, but I don't know. They said that it's pretty much complex and hard to maintain private and public documentation online on GitHub, and that's why they decided to stop putting the documentation into GitHub. Well, that's their decision. That's how it is now. And we have no other way to just navigate the web and start reading and learning from there. Not too bad. At least it has documentation. So I'm starting with EC2. Well, no, not EC2 actually. I'm starting with the AMIs, which is part of EC2. But understanding the AMIs, I think, is really key to know how EC2 works, which is basically you have a compute engine where you can run the software. But this software is coming from a snapshot or an image of something like a Ubuntu operating system, or maybe CentOS or AWS AMI 1 or AMI 2, Linux AMI 2023 maybe. So understanding how that works, how you can create these AMIs from different sources like EBS or instance stores. So that's really interesting. That's something that I really missed. I didn't know that it was working like this, the way I'm saying it. So that's pretty much what I'm documenting here. What are the features, the capabilities, and the differences between these two. And yeah, there are a lot of documentation in there. I'm still just going into the first page, but there are a lot of things to cover. AMI is going to be one of the first ones, and then pretty much I will be looking into some other aspects of an EC2, which multiple layers of AWS that it's required to know, to understand before launching an EC2 instance. Like for example, you need a network where you are going to put your EC2. It has to have a network connection, private or public. It has to have a network connection. You need to have a storage where you are going to store your data. You need to have access, how you are going to bring people into the server. What kind of access are you going to bring them? Like sharing the SSH private key, like allowing people to SSH via AWS HTTP WebSockets, which is AAM basically, with no SSH private key. Or are you going to ask people to share with you their public SSH keys? So who knows? They do have multiple options, but that's something that you need to consider from the beginning after creating the EC2 machine. You need to be aware of what kind of machine you need to run, what capacity, what kind of features do you need. Do you need a hardware access to the extensions of the hardware for security reasons, enclaves maybe, or probably the GPU is what you need to have access to all the features of the GPU, CPU maybe, or you just need a paravirtual kind of virtualization for the EC2 you are going to run. So there are multiple things, multiple aspects you need to consider while working with EC2 machines. And I'm probably missing most of them, like security, filtering packets to the server, and some other services that you can put on top of the EC2, like having a load balancer, having auto scaling, having automated snapshots, and all of that. And also making sure that how you are going to take care of the security of the instance. Having outdated software is not secure. An attacker can find or get a vulnerability in your application, and from that can have a reverse shell access to the server. And if it turns out the server has outdated software, it's likely that the attacker is gonna exploit those. It's gonna escalate privileges and become root, and from there he can have access to all the resources in the network that the server is in, like databases, caching services, other environments, CI/CD tools, etc. So it's pretty much important to know how you are going to upgrade the operating system, the system packages, the libraries, what mechanism you are going to have to update the application you are running into the server, how you can make sure it's secure. But also the orchestration aspect of it, how you are going to deploy your software into the servers, how you are going to provision the servers. Are you going to scale manually or dynamically? Are you going to run with Lambdas or Dockers? The whole compute engine is based on the EC2. EC2 is the base for all the compute engine on different flavors. You have Lightsail. I never used that, but I know that AWS have this Lightsail where you can install applications in one single click. You also have Beanstalk, pretty much the same. You can have some pre-installed software in order to run your application. Lambdas, ECS, EKS, which is the Kubernetes on AWS, managed by AWS. So pretty much you have a lot of options. all of them based on EC2. So it's pretty much really important to understand how EC2 works. What is Fargate? What kind of instance type you're going to use? Do you need something specific, like network-wise, hardware-wise? You need something that has a really good memory input-output throughput. You have something with really slow latency. So you have compute engine for whatever need you have. You need to be aware as well of the costs. There are different ways you can make you can save costs in AWS, because things are not cheaper in AWS. That you should know that. You should know that. That's because AWS can provide or can have integration of many services that AWS provide with you EC2 machines. So those integrations sometimes are not paid directly, but indirectly. So you can run more cheaper machines in other cloud providers. I think DigitalOcean is much more cheaper, but you have less services and you have to take care of by yourself of some things like security, operationality, high availability, and all of that. I don't think that's extremely the case. It used to be like that before, but I think DigitalOcean got better and better. But there are other more cheaper cloud providers where you can deploy your applications and have your own servers, but you have to take care of the maintenance of those. In AWS, pretty much a lot of things automated. AWS takes charge of that, but you have to pay a little bit more for your EC2 instances to run. And that's the benefit of AWS. If you are going to AWS, you gotta be using from the beginning all those services and the features that AWS provide. Otherwise, if you are just going to use the EC2 and nothing else than it, then yeah, you might be wasting some money. You have to get benefit. You need to use the snapshots. You need to make sure you are using software that's automatically upgraded by AWS, patched by AWS. So yeah, that's pretty much it, what I wanted to share with you guys. Something really cool, what I'm learning, what I'm reading, and what I'm expecting. Already seeing how the future is going to look like with all these things that AWS offer to us. I took the certificate from AWS, but I'm learning a lot now. I'm really happy for it. That's it. Bye, guys.